Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
Well, I deem it necessary tonight to have a cocktail.
All
I
right.
really do. Yeah, I did a lot of driving today. So this is my, I'm back from the drive. And the weather was, and we'll talk about it, the weather was unexpectedly nasty, incredibly difficult to navigate, um, very dangerous.
Those are words that Trump uses to describe most women in his orbit, by the way. Nasty,
Yeah.
very dangerous,
Very difficult to navigate.
Mhm.
Not sure where anything is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then it was blue skies in the afternoon and warm and sunny and gorgeous. So happy spring.
It's
Is
the
it the
first
first
full
day?
day of spring. It
Okay.
is.
Happy spring.
Yeah.
How are you? Tell me about how you are.
I think I'm okay.
Mm.
I mean, insofar as we can be okay. There was one funny thing where, there's this whole lawyer thing going on. And so
Yeah.
Paul Weiss was trending on
Yeah.
the social media. And I don't know. I really thought that was Parker Posey's husband on White Lotus, and that there was some sort of thing. Like, I don't know what, because people didn't put the comma in. If there's a comma in, then I know it's a law firm. I really would like to spend the rest of my life not knowing the name of any law firms.
I
That's just
know.
me. I'm not interested in that.
Well, we got to follow the lawyers, or
Mm.
you're not figuring out where things are heading.
I know.
The lawyers, legal, former Twitter, legal X, legal whatever it is, the legal sphere, they've lost their minds today. I saw a little bit of that too. I'm like, George Conway's losing his mind, like all the pundits.
Yeah.
They seem very, very upset about it.
Because it's just more capitulation, which we'll talk about.
Capitulation.
We'll talk about in probably in the 4th segment, fascism creep. It's a fun one. It's a fun one. It's a good one. In other positive news, I fixed my background. I figured out how to do it. So now you can see what's behind me again. And you can see this wonderful 5-8 sign that we have.
Look at that fabulous poster.
It's a nice poster.
We have our next live event.
Yeah.
There it will be.
There it will be.
There it will be.
There it will be.
All right. Well, listen, we've got a great guest. Anything else you want to share?
I think I know. I mean,
no.
I got nothing to share.
Got it all out. Okay. Let's jump in. I'm going to set the timer on the clock. We're going to keep to a pretty strict show.
Ship. Yeah.
Strict ship today because I'm about to drop. But I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that I made it. And I'm so happy for our guest. Okay. 8 seconds on the clock. Is it me for? It's you first. Oh my God, Greg Olear.
No, this is what. Whatever. First topic is Chinese takeout. So the New York Times reported that Elon Musk is going to be given a briefing at the DOD.
My God.
And been given because he needs to know what the top secret war plans are in the event that we go to war with China. Okay. Later today, Donald Trump said, "Oh, no. That didn't happen. We're not doing that." And therefore that confirms it, right? Because
that it's happening. It's already happened. That confirms that it happened 2 weeks ago.
Well, he was at DOD talking to Hegseth today, I guess, comparing tattoos. I don't know. Stories like that.
For that.
I feel like, everything has gotten so out of control so quickly. And the press is tripping over itself trying to normalize every little thing. Like now it's not just Doge, and then now it's the US Doge blah blah.
Yeah.
As if it's
made it a real
thing.
The
fucking Department of Justice or something, right? It's not a real thing. He's an unconfirmed, unelected guy that has no authority to do anything other than this weird quasi stuff that Trump has given him. Now, if this was a movie, okay, let's just pretend it's a movie. Okay. All right. We have a government of a nation, whatever name we can give it a fake name if you want. You're the screenwriter here. We could
Trumpsylvania.
What do we want to call it?
Trumpsylvania.
Trumpsylvania. I like Trumpsylvania. Okay. We're in this nation. We have a 250-year history of things, and there's a crazy guy who has a lot of money which we've seen a million times in every other movie, every other comedy made. There's a character like this, some eccentric sort of genius who isn't a genius, who is absolutely evil, right? We know this character,
Yes.
right? It's now hackneyed at this point. Guy like that shows up, we roll our eyes.
He's so overarched, though. I couldn't get away with writing him, but people have said that since day one of the Trump administration, first go around. So anyway, here he is. This guy shows up.
Okay, he's just a guy. It's just like just me. It's just like me. I put on a baseball hat. He shows up. Hey guys, what's going on? It's like Jim Carrey and Cable Guy. Like, hey, he's just tagging along, and he brings his kid with him. For some reason, because one thing that helps make the government more efficient is to bring your 3-year-old to work with you, or 4-year-old. Come on, man. That's never been functionally explained. Can he not afford a babysitter? Like, it's all crazy, right? And we're trying to like wrap our minds around this. This guy shouldn't fucking be here. He is a foreign asset. He just is. Okay. Yeah. I don't even think he's a legal citizen of this country. I think his immigration is bullshit. His brother admitted it on some show that it was questionable. I have no idea. They're in there trying to get rid of birthright citizenship. How about getting rid of weird South African billionaire citizenship that maybe is true and maybe it isn't? I don't know. Okay. So that's who this guy is. He's just a guy. He's not even like a guy whose, ancestors were on the
he's not like, he's not a war hero.
He's nothing. He's a guy who's his grandparents didn't fight it. I think maybe they did fight in World War II, but on the German side.
Yeah.
And that's who he is. That's who his people are. So, and now, he has all this money that he's gotten from Russia and from Saudi Arabia and from China. Okay. Which is sketchy. He's talks to Putin on the phone all the time.
I mean,
he's been pretty vocal going forward about like being anti-Ukraine and doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
And now we're going to let him in the Pentagon at all to meet with the Secretary of Defense and the military people so that he can know what our attack plan would be in the event that we go to war with China, information that probably the Chinese now already have. What possible reason is there, I ask you, for this motherfucker to be in that room with our military people? This is not normal. This guy is he's not even a traitor because he's working for them. He's a, what do you call it when he's just somebody's there? He's just it's like a
he's just a dingleberry.
He's Milchek. We're the innies, and this is he's the bad guy.
He's the bad
guy. There's nothing good about him, and I don't think anyone likes him.
No,
I don't think anyone likes him.
Pam Bondi, I think, really likes him. Barron loves him. Really.
Oh, okay.
I actually believe the whole thing is about protecting Barron's crush. I do. At the end of the day, this is why they're all going, well, there's probably other things, but, the emotional part of it is if anything were to happen to Elon, God forbid anyone hurt Elon's feelings.
Oh, no.
There's a complete meltdown. I remember when, was it Keurig machines were getting blown up? And
I do, yeah. The Keurig machine, yeah.
And Bud Light or something was being AR-15 gunned down. Like all these other products when that were too woke or they whatever. Back in Trump 1.0, there was all this real violence against these products, right? And it was like, it's just a product. So, okay, you want to, and it's your own product. You want to smash your stuff or smash somebody else's stuff. You shouldn't smash other people's property, but they were doing it. There was all of this violence against material things because of who owned them or was the CEO of them and what that reflected. And yet, that's happening now to Teslas. And it's Pam Bondi's going to put people away for 20 years if they damage a Tesla or do any kind of vandalism of a Tesla or a Tesla charging station, which is happening.
If the Cybertruck vandalizes itself by its parts flying off,
maybe that's going away for 20 years as well. I mean, the shit's just falling off of that ugly ass truck.
Yeah.
And it's, okay. these people are going to be prosecuted to a degree way beyond the January 6th, the insurrectionists who broke windows, tried to hang Mike Pence, were searching for AOC to God knows what they wanted to do to her, and Nancy Pelosi in Nancy Pelosi's office, breaking everything up that they could, stealing things, going onto the floor and smearing their feces all over the walls. And they're heroes. So that was like, that's not even like, I guess you can call our Capitol building a material thing, but it's a public space that belongs to all America. And it's a symbol of our democracy. So that can be violently attacked and violated. And that's an act of love, according to Donald. But God forbid anybody should not spend their money the way we want to spend our money. We've got to spend our money the way Elon tells us to spend our money and buy his Teslas. And if that doesn't happen, his feelings are so hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And Barron calls daddy and mommy, and daddy and mommy call up, whatever they have to call up. And daddy starts selling cars on the front lawn of the White House. And mommy gets her thing, Pam Bondi, under control. And Pam Bondi goes out and threatens, I'm going to, send all these people to jail for the maximum sentences of 20 years. Like our Department of Justice, a federal justice with our taxpayer dollars is going to protect Elon Musk's products.
Yeah. Yep.
He doesn't need the protection for himself. He just stays close enough to the Secret Service, never leaves there. And then if he ever feels like his head is going to be exposed because he's clearly got right gear on, he just sticks his toddler on his head. And that's what that toddler is there for. For Donald, too, in case somebody wants to take him out. They're literally using babies as human shields. I'm convinced of that, too. So I got to drink more tequila. Oh, God, help me.
We have to have frequent drink breaks during the show.
Mm-hmm. Cares about this guy? Like, this isn't, I don't think this is going to go. I mean, there's plenty of social media MAGA that's like, oh, poor Elon, they're feeling so sad for him. And he needs to have all the Chinese secrets. They were so like, China's coming to get us. And Hillary's working with China. Epstein. China and Israel, and like there's Elon doing it all with Ghislaine.
Is there going to be like a live X broadcast of the secrets hosted by Matt Taibbi, and will it crash? Like every other fucking thing that he touches crashes. Yeah. It's
so absolutely fragile. The fragility of Elon Musk. He's a glass figurine, a beautiful glass figurine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Metaphorically only, because he doesn't look like.
No, he's delicate. Careful with the delicateness of Elon Musk. Delicate.
Yeah.
Better give him our war plans against China and compromise all national security.
Yeah. Wasn't this the fuck your feelings party?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I guess they can't handle it, huh?
They can't handle anything. I've never seen a bunch of whining babies like this. This is really
Tesla
out of control.
Snowflake, it's coming.
Yeah. They should all dye their hair blue and run around. Okay. All right. Weather report. Next topic, if you don't mind, I move on. Yep. So listen, I said this sort of early in the week. I'm like, great. The NOAA thing, getting rid of NOAA is a big, big deal.
Wait, say what NOAA is.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to read it. I have it pulled up so I can read it.
As opposed to the ARC. We're not talking about the guy with the ARC here.
I'm not talking about the guy with the ARC. The NOAA, which stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It's an agency. A U.S. scientific agency. So automatically we have to hate it because it's science. Within the Department of Commerce. Remember Wilbur Ross? Who's the loafer person this time around? I don't even know. Responsible for forecasting weather, monitoring oceanic and atmospheric conditions, and managing fisheries and marine resources. So think about all of our fisheries and marine resources being sort of like a big national park. that these guys can't wait to privatize. There's a reason why it's under commerce, because it's so connected to our economic stability, our ability to shift and change based on what we understand the weather is going to do, especially as we get into climate change and we get into extreme weather. So we just had all these tornadoes happen. They seem to be rolling through. We're having these severe storms. I understand that there's a lot of people who say we've always had severe storms. Trust me, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, in Tornado Alley. That was what we did. I would take, and then went to California to the earthquakes and the fires because I couldn't have enough natural disasters going on. I'd take a tornado over a fire, but a tornado is pretty bad. So the thing about NOAA is how it helps farmers and how it helps people with their property. So we'll take the wildlife, put it over here for a second, because I want to come back to that, and just talk about people who are in the business or have their finances somehow tied to their real estate, their property. Farmers being in the business of, that's a real estate business. You have to have land to farm pretty much. And it's expensive, and farmers need our help. And there's lots of government programs because we need the product. Americans need the product that the farmers produce. And also we've developed a very valuable export with things like soybeans and, in our corn and all of this. There's fuel that's derived from farming. There's just it touches in all of these things that actually sustain life in America. And so to do away with NOAA, which is a threat, and it's happening. I don't know if it happened already. It's happening. To do away with NOAA is to rob farmers and people with real estate. You're in the Florida coast, you're not going to know if a great big hurricane is coming. Where are people going to get that information if the weather service itself is lost? You're in through the Tornado Alley. That's also the Bible Belt. That's also, a big swath of the middle of America that is a thriving red populated. It's not just land. We have dense populated areas and cities all throughout there that go red. They go Republican. Missouri being one of the states. That's a prime example of that. So it's critical. Those voters are critical to Republicans if we're in the business of elections anymore, right? There's no reason to get rid of this agency other than financial gain and foreign foothold. There's no reason. They're throwing away their voters. People aren't, the farmers and the folks that own real estate, they're not gonna abide by this. We don't know if a tornado's coming or not. We don't know what the forecast is going to be. We don't know when hurricanes are coming. We don't know what severe weather is coming. We don't know really what's happening with our droughts. We don't know when the rainy seasons are coming or going. That doesn't work. That's not a plan for somebody who's trying to time their crops. It doesn't work. They've got to have NOAA. It's so critical. Okay. So then you understand all that. And why, again, another attack on the farmers. Why attack that population? Why attack the areas in that map as well, where you see lots of red, not just from land, but the cities inside there being red voters, Florida being a big example, Texas being a big example. Why hurt those voters in their wallets where they're actually going to know that it's hit them? Why take away their tool if you don't also want to grab their land?
Yeah. Yep.
So I, not even being conspiratorial, but understanding that J.D. Vance, at where Peter Thiel worked with J.D. Vance, he cultivated him. He's this little yummy toy, and grew him in his lab, made up the hillbilly elegy. I don't know who wrote that, whatever. grew this little JD Vance, and then he's going to be our VP. Well, what was it in Silicon Valley, which is where JD Vance made his money, right? Where he was a VC, blah, blah, blah. A little one. It's a little, just a little, gets to be the toy, Peter Thiel behind him. What's the value there? What did JD then become in charge of? And what did he grow in his little VC lab and failed? He killed some of these attempts and experiments at trying to develop, and now he has one, a website and a service that allows foreign investment to remain opaque to buy up farmland. I keep talking about this. I think it's, even if you can look at, oh, well, his portfolio is going to be so huge. He's going to be an oligarch and a gajillionaire. What does he care about his little, only in the millions, right? Whatever. Well, if you're talking about people who want to talk to China, right? China and Saudi Arabia own quite a lot of our land now, and a lot of farms. If farmers can't manage their business, the only thing they have of value as their business tanks, especially if they're no longer getting their government, there's a multi-pronged attack on our farmers. They're going to probably have to sell. And what do they have to sell? Land. And who are they selling it to? China and Saudi Arabia and any other foreign investor that wants to come in, any conglomerate that wants to come in. I don't understand also a party that's all about securing borders when the border you're going to secure is actually now owned by Saudi Arabia and China. How does that make any sense? It only makes sense if the people that are behind this and that you're staring at are doing this kind of thing, like getting rid of Noah, not just to help advance an oligarchy, get to that one second, but for their foreign overlords, for China, for Saudi Arabia, for whoever else wants to come in and pay and buy out cheap on the dollar America's land, our country. These states, we can call them states and draw maps, but what is it? It's land. Land. Land is up for grabs. Now, it being also under commerce because it's so, because it's so intricate to commerce. And then you get into the fisheries and you get into the marine, right? So national parks, those are all going to go up for grabs. But owning the waterways that lead into the United States, controlling our coastlines, turning that into private for profit. Boy, would China love that.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe they should, have one of their citizens be the Secretary of Transportation.
Yeah.
Well, wait, they did that.
They did that already. Okay, so and marry senators and VCs in powerful VCs in Silicon Valley. So that's all I see when I see Noah. Let alone, folks that would rely on FEMA assistance and need FEMA assistance and getting rid of that. So why attack your own loyal people, right? And right where there's no amount of disinformation you can shower them with. There's no amount of propaganda and garbage and here's my merch, buy my merch. There's no amount of shtick and WWE wrestling posing as an administration so that everybody can be fans of the show and watch the TV show and be entertained. There's no amount of entertainment that you can offer people when you've just stripped their land out from underneath them and taken their homes.
What you just said is
burst the bubble.
Why is important, obviously. But I got this book. It's called Land Power by Michael Albertus, who's a professor at University of Chicago, and it talks about. I'm only 50 pages in, but it talks about what you're talking about basically, and how all of recorded history is obviously tied to the land and farmland and who owns it, and you go through the serfs and all of this stuff. And there's a thing called the Great Reshuffle that happened after the French Revolution, where lots of land changed hands very quickly for the first time in a long, long time. And this, what you've just described, is setting up to be a great reshuffle here, which is very, very dangerous. And I guess they're going to make everything so shitty here that people are just going to want to go to Mars and toil there for their overlord.
Yeah. Well, good luck. I think you have to. Good luck living underground.
One last thing before we move on. The National Weather Service was founded by President Grant, and he founded it because a bunch of school kids died while walking to school because there was a sudden blizzard and they didn't know it was going to snow, and they froze to death. That's why it exists, and that's what Trump and Musk are wanting to do away with. Just so we know.
Well, just so we know, we always come back to Moloch, right? Who is the in the Bible, sacrifice your children on the altar of the idols. So, that's what we're dealing. That's the evil we're dealing with. Yeah.
You know what else we come back to?
Let's see.
It's just that everything is.
Everything is stupid. Everything is dumb when Trump is your king. Everything is stupid. Blaming everything. Everything is worse with Nazis on the platforms. It's all fascists and rapists and anti-vax morons in mega heaven. There's no doubt that they pull down their pants just to count to 11. Everything is stupid. Everything is dumb when Trump is your king. Everything is stupid. We mean every fucking thing.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
It holds up.
That was a good one, Chunk. That's one of the one of the greatest hits for sure.
For sure.
And it's just evergreen, isn't it? It's just evergreen. Never gets old.
Never gets old.
Okay. Our guest, you've seen her work in New York Magazine and the New Republic, among many other places. She has a wonderful Substack called American Freakshow. She's the author of Virus and a bunch of other books. And she was the first ever guest on this fine show, coming at us from an undisclosed location somewhere warmer than here. Nina Burleigh.
Nina Burleigh! Yes! Tequila! Nice.
That
welcome back.
The opening scene is incredible. Who's making that? Chunkle?
Chunk.
Yep.
Chunk. It's amazing.
Uncle. No, he's the best. He's the best. We're so blessed to have him.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming back.
Did anything that we talked about in the first two segments make you want to comment and raise your hand and say something like it's class?
Well, I mean, the Noah stuff, I have this conservative pen pal out in Oklahoma. I'm not going to tell you any more about him, but I've been communicating with this guy. He's a farmer for a long time, and he doesn't like Trump, but I'm sure that he voted for him. And he's got a lot of opinions about the Noah stuff that is in contrast to what you're talking about. So I don't really know. I think it's idiotic of them they're just going after climate science, but I don't know how much farmers rely on. All of them, I don't know. I mean, this guy's anti-government, kind of not like a Bundy, but like kind of like has these anyway. So I don't know. I'm kind of not sure that's the worst thing about what they're doing with Noah is about the farmers and people in red states not getting, managing to carry on with their.
I'm just saying that's going to be the impact. I'm saying
I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be actually shutting down climate science. I mean, that's what they want. They want no more of this climate. It's like going after mRNA research. They don't
it's
want
not mutually exclusive.
It's not mutually exclusive, exactly. But I think that to me, that's it's this anti-expertise thing, and they don't like the experts because they don't like the experts. They've never, the business world doesn't like experts that tell them they can't pollute, and that climate that fossil fuels are causing temperatures to rise and so on. So they're just, you know,
For them, it falls into the anti-regulation
thing with the vaccine. It's like the vaccines are, you know, they've gotten this, you know, they went right down with the rabbit hole with the conspiracy theories on the mRNA vaccine, even though Trump poured money into Pfizer. I think it was Pfizer or Moderna. One of them took, one didn't. But anyway, the government poured money into creating that mRNA vaccine. And you know what? I wrote the book. You're right. I wrote a book about the vaccine. You know, vaccines have saved millions and millions of lives. The average lifespan of Americans has gone doubled since they started, and that's not the only reason. But in 100 years or 150 years, and you know, people just want to believe what they want to believe, and the MAGAs, the Republicans are like, fine, okay. Bobby goes in there and tells people, yeah, these, you know, this is what's going to happen to you if you get a vaccination, and they stopped they're worried that they're going to stop mRNA research now, and mRNA research is actually on the verge of figuring out like a pancreatic cancer cure.
That's right.
It's saying like just so that you can satiate this desire for conspiracy about experts and, you know, that mRNA is going to mess with your DNA, you are going to kill your followers. But I guess that's how they think.
Well,
I think they literally, this is just to go to the fascists that I've been writing about, the eugenicists, like Darren Beatty. And these, you know, Darren Beatty is our undersecretary for public diplomacy and public affairs now. And he's a eugenicist. He's an out eugenicist. He's tweeted over and over again that we should sterilize low IQ trash. Those are his words. And when he's talking about low IQ trash, he's talking about brown people. It's implied.
Not Trump?
Not Trump.
Okay.
And not the white MAGAs, right?
Yeah.
Who you might say would be kind of in that camp if you're really going to criticize people for having low IQ and being trashy. But yeah, that's what I think they really don't care if like a lot of people just croak. I think
I'm so glad you brought this up, because I wanted to, we were talking a little bit before, it's like the thing of what we want to really ask you about. So I was seeing this report of an interview with the mother of one of 4 children. They all got measles, and it was that child that died. One of her children is the one that died from the measles and didn't get the vaccine. And this is like someone was saying, this is what a grip the anti-vax movement has on people. She said, it's just not that bad. She's still saying, don't get the vaccine. Measles isn't that bad. And she lost a child. Her child died from it, and she's still in that fog. So if that's not going to cause a crack, if a mother losing a child isn't going to cause a crack of like, wait a minute, maybe this is harmful, all this shit we're engaging in. Maybe my kid should still be alive. And what did you just do to, you know, if that doesn't, what is going to cause a crack? Where are the cracks? Are there any cracks in the freak show? Or are they just a solid blah?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think eventually I think the pendulum swings back and forth. I don't know that we're at the end of our republic like a lot of people think. I mean, I think the pendulum swings. I mean, maybe they will you know, wake up, or enough people. I mean, he didn't win by that much, you know. So, right, there are always idiots. There are lots of idiots in the world, and I mean, I don't know that they're, you know, that person in that particular example of stupidity is going to be the norm. But I do think that, you know, we've got a problem until people wake up, enough people wake up, you know, who voted for him and who realize, you know, probably wasn't a good idea. Then we're stuck with him. But I just think, you know, the volume of shit that they've been throwing around, and the absolute sort of sinister level of evil that they're doing is you know, the whole point of the thing is to make people feel shock and awe, and like outrage is the new sport, and they just love the idea that they're making us cry, and like a lot of it is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know when. I think you mentioned this in the beginning. I don't know if they're ever going to be satisfied.
Yeah, where's the
They might
satisfaction?
be satisfied. They might be satisfied when, they've got full control of the academies, the universities. They're so pissed off about what young people have been taught and learned about colonialism and all the things that in the last couple of decades. The universities that this generation has been taught. They're so pissed about that stuff. And then the story right now, there's this story the Times just reported on the 400 million that they're sucking away from Colombia, and that Colombia just bent the knee to get back. Yep. That number exactly matches the money that Trump would have gained had Colombia bought the Hudson Yards property from him.
Oh my God. I did not hear this yet.
No, the Times just reported this like a half hour ago.
Oh my God.
You read it and you realize again.
The grievance.
He is literally kept alive by the thirst for vengeance. That's who this person is that they have elected to run our country. And I am your retribution. It's not smart businessman. It's like he's living to get revenge. He's never forgotten a slight. He's a sick man. And how long it goes on, I don't know. I just keep telling. I'm down here in the Caribbean, and yesterday the taxi driver, we were talking about the United States, and he said, "Yeah, that man, he's going to start World War IV." And that's how
correct.
People are just like, they can't even comprehend like what the fuck is going on in your country. And neither can we, but I just have to say, my instinct is that it's always look, and these fascists, I got into the Twitter fascists because I'm writing an article that's going to be out next week in New York Magazine on Donald Trump Jr. They've been working on it for a long time. And in order to do that story, I delve deeply into this Twitter world that he is sort of a part of. He platforms some of these guys, and then you started to find these links between some of these people that he platforms and each other and other Trump administration officials now, like Darren Beatty is out, but there are a lot of them operating under anonymous names on Twitter, and they're just vile. They have these incredibly vile points of view. They're Darren Beatty actually, and I wrote about this last week. Darren Beatty, again, our Undersecretary of State for Public Affairs and Public Diplomacy, on January 6, 2021, unleashed hours of tweets in which he went after Black leaders and said repeatedly, you need to take a knee to MAGA. You need to learn your place in society. You need to learn your place. You need to learn your place, over and over, directed at Black leaders.
Wow. And
now somebody who uses that language, that is straight out of Django. That's the character that Leo DiCaprio played in, boy, you need to learn your place. That person is our Undersecretary of State for Public Affairs and Public Diplomacy. And
public diplomacy.
And he is part of a internet community, of a Twitter community that includes people like Bronze Age Pervert, which I assume you guys have heard of.
Big dark enlightenment.
Raw Egg Nationalist, who actually Junior has retweeted.
Yeah.
Raw Egg Nationalist, and these guys are freaks. I mean, they really are freaks. Okay, yeah. Raw Egg Nationalist. The reason that they're different from the Nazis, like of Richard Spencer Nazi. Well, Richard Spencer did have a University of Chicago pedigree, but most of, let's say, David Duke, and going back before them, these guys all have PhDs, and they have this elevated way of tweeting, this arch, they like translate fascist texts, and like, if you know who they are, like it's this, and
It's
so
very coded. It's
elevated
very
intellectualism, like it flatters these Trumpy policymaker, I like beer dudes, the Kavanaugh type that aren't like that flatters them that they've got these guys who actually read the books that Steve Bannon has on his shelf. And so that's this community that at the moment is ascendant, and they're sickos. I mean, raw-egg nationalists, they're complete misogynists. I mean, the stuff that BAP has written about women, I'm not even going to repeat here. He hates women. And raw-egg nationalists, he publishes a magazine called Man's World, and it's basically just homoerotic shit. And like, one of the issues has a recipe for Hitler's ice cream in it. And, I mean, the whole Greenland thing is like it's like a dog whistle to these guys, because Greenland for years, Julius Evola and these fascists in Europe have always talked about Greenland as like this, the Greek mythology of the white philosopher priest race that came from Hyperborea. You can see that in their tweets, that once Junior went over there, they went nuts over this. This is this is the infiltration of the leadership of our government by actual fucking Nazis. Okay, it's not just like you just use the word Nazi. Like, these people are Nazis. They're inside, and we just got to keep eyes on them. And I assume that at some point the American people, if they let us have another election, if Musk doesn't fuck with the if they don't manage to fuck with the voting machines or do what they want to do with them, that's who's going to be in charge for a while, and until there's some kind of revolution.
Yeah, I think it's hard to think of a way out when you look at the line of succession. If Trump is impeached, we have Vance. If Trump and Vance is impeached, we have Mike Johnson. If all three of those guys are impeached, we have Chuck Grassley, and then after him is Rubio, and so on down the list. And it's going to be that way.
I don't think, Greg, I don't think that if Trump chokes on a cheeseburger tomorrow, I think the movement starts to die, because they can't, none of those people can command the adoration of the MAGAs. I do not think that they could get some of them, but they're not there. There's going to be a succession war. It's going to be fractured, unless who steps up, like who's got that crooning Sinatra voice, coupled with like Obama derangement syndrome, the kind of hangover from having a brown president, and it feeds that, but feeds it in the way that he does. I don't think there's anyone that can step in and do that.
You think Junior?
Maybe they'll run Andrew Tate, and
I agree, and I've thought of that also. But the danger is they don't need it anymore. They're not going to run if Vance becomes president and Peter Thiel is effectively president and Musk. They're not going to have any more elections. That's curtains. It doesn't matter if JD Vance is popular, and he will be popular because anybody that sits on a couch, is going to have somebody in their house.
The support, what you're saying is like the MAGA movement dies, maybe, but also these are people who are fantasists. Everything is a fantasy and a mythology and a wish, and then it's real. And I'm not saying they're not dangerous, and I'm not saying, and just like these are childlike minds.
The voters.
So if he's and the movement, if he's dead, then he's all of a sudden in heaven, and he's the next that. So I don't know.
There's no way for us to find out. I think we're just going to have it play out, and then we'll see.
Mother Nature.
I think that's the thing. That we have to
get rid of Noah, and maybe a hurricane will sweep through. I don't know. I don't know.
And you mentioned Nina about them wanting to make us cry, and we do shed tears because the fumes from the burning Teslas get in our eyes, and we tear up. It's very sad. The tears come down. As it were. Are there any other? You've been profiling these people who are all just so awful on American Food Show.
And by the way, Nina, thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Thank you for, because it's hard. I was on a little bit of that beat back in 2016, 2017, looking at just the oh my God, there's Nazis, right? And oh God, there's out of 4chan and looking at this, the vileness of what the things that they say.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
I
had to get out of it because
that's why I only did 3 of them. I did the first one because this guy, Captive Dreamer, is so outrageous. He's like the son of the president of the largest Christian university in Canada.
Oh my God.
And he is the guy who amplified the Haitians are eating dogs and cats.
Oh my God, that's right. Okay.
And then he spent the last, 6 months or so just like giddy with joy, congratulating himself. But he's a Nazi who's had like 50 different pseudonyms. He's been chased off social media repeatedly and comes back with new names. And he's Mark Andreessen follows him. Vance obviously follows him, right? Because that's how they got, and people in administration are following him. And he's an open Nazi. He translates fascist text. And he's disgusting. Captive Dreamer is like the title of a book by a French fascist who went over to the Hitler side. So total sicko. But the thing is, the 3 people I've mentioned, Captive Dreamer, BAP, and Raw Nationalists, they're not even they don't even live or vote here. They live in, BAP might, but he's Romanian. He's
Romanian, right? Yeah.
And I'm not sure he's even here. It's hard to tell. Raw Nationalist lives with his mommy in south of England, and Captive Dreamer Jeff Martin lives somewhere in British Columbia, and worked because I don't think he does anymore after we outed him, and Daily Dot. I had his name, but I didn't want to run with it because I wasn't sure. But Daily Dot outed him, and then we had all this other background information on him. We threw it out there, and he worked in the purchasing department of the university that his dad is president of, like a little Bartleby the Scrivener. And I said, he was like Superman and Clark Kent, like he turns into Superman when he goes on social media, but he's like a little nothing. And that's the same. I'm sure that's the same thing with Raw Nationalists, like
big balls.
What?
Well, I just think I just thanking you. I want to thank you because it is hard to constantly look and especially dive deep into the psychology.
I had bad dreams about it, and I'm done with it now. I mean, those 3 and that kind of underworld is, it's enough. I know people who work in that I know, and you guys know some of them too, who work with the QAnons and just way down in there. And, you do that for a year or 2 and you start, unraveling, I think. So
I agree with you.
You have to protect yourself. I mean, I'm going to write about something else. I'm going to move on to some.
Okay, good. But I'm grateful. But you also, people like you with that, with the talented journalists who also have ethics and understand how you have to dig. And like you say, like I wasn't sure. And so, but somebody else did it, and bring it. So it doesn't end up being just a morass and something we can't trust, are so necessary to the process of actually keeping our eyes on what's actually happening and bearing witness to the moment of what we're actually going through.
Thank you. And that is exactly why we do this.
That's
because
right.
You have to keep your eyes on it. And I know a lot of people, way too many of them in my circle, who are like, I'm not paying attention to this anymore. I'm done.
Now at the time when it's I think most critical too, because Elon Musk is pretty Nazi-ish. He's pretty Nazi-ish, and he is in charge of the entire federal government. So
he is. I mean, let's just talk about that for once. I'm sure you've gone through.
Go.
The gesture, right? Like Barry Weiss, and also the we haven't talked about this. The Columbia, the weaponization of the accusation of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Which is right there next to, you have the Barry Weisses who were like, well, it was just a gesture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible how the ADL and Barry Weiss are like, well, it's just a gesture. Like, I don't know. And like, No, man, like they're Nazis. Like,
Yeah.
but they're using anti-Semitism as a cudgel. Like they're weaponizing the accusation of anti-Semitism to go after not just universities, but to start deporting people. And that whole thing is really to go after progressives, because a very large percentage of progressives in this country are very upset about the Gaza war and what's going on there. And you can't, that, you know, they need to eradicate, it's a perfect way to eradicate that conversation, right? It's not, it's like, that's what they're going to do. They're going to start with the deporting the, you know, the Mohammeds and the Khalils, or, you know, anybody with an Arabic name. And then they're going to move on, and who knows what they're going to do at the border, you know, or what they're going to do with people who you spoke out, you know, you can go home. You're out of here.
Yeah. The roundup, I call it.
Yeah. It's again, they take a word and they make it mean something other than what it means, and make it
right
so that it no longer means what it used to, and we can't use it in the way that it's, you know, intended.
That's the Arthur Finkelstein playbook.
Yeah, it's very, very smart. It's very, very smart.
Yeah.
Let's move on to topic 4, because this is
oh my god,
topic.
are we moving on? Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
gotta
a big
get on
topic.
my-
And
I
I want to
gotta
get everybody's
have a job.
thoughts on this. Okay, so this topic is called fascism creep. So there's a couple of things that happened this week. I just want to list them, and then maybe you guys can share your thoughts. Okay, so just some things that happened. First of all, we have the whole ignoring of court orders. You know, Trump administration just being like, oh, you say that? Yeah, okay, whatever. That's bad. Then Trump going after the judges, saying he's going to impeach judges, to the point where even mighty John Roberts was roused from his stupor, like Punxsutawney Phil, you know, oh, I see my shadow. It's 6 more weeks of fascism. So, and had to issue a statement, because that's what he does. The military is now operating on U.S. soil down at the border, and they've come up with a kind of loophole by moving the military base on the border. Therefore, the military is just going to be on the border. But this is also kind of a gateway to now the military is operating in the United States. ICE is obviously rounding up people, and I don't even want to use the word deport, because that's not what's happening. They're extraditing them to nations where they do not live and putting them in prison for no reason without due process. There's this whole El Salvador prison thing where everybody watched the videos, because Trump wanted everyone to watch the videos of these very, very Nazi-looking guys with masks running around like the apparatchiks of Ivan the Terrible, shaving people's heads and their beards and this and that. Because they have a tattoo on their shoulder that says "mom" or something. People aren't allowed to come into the country now from places like, you know, France, because they text something bad about Trump on their phone. And we have the capitulation. We talked about this a little bit before. The legacy media long ago capitulated. Even before he took office, they capitulated. Now, this week is the white shoe law firms. That's that Paul Weiss thing. You know, they're all done. They've all, you know, and if the fucking white shoe law firm can't take him on, I mean, come on. Ivy League universities, Nina, as you alluded to, Columbia is now going to do whatever he says, and he's going to keep attacking them anyway. And of course, the retail companies, you know, Target and Walmart and whatnot, that were being boycotted. That's a lot of stuff, and it's all pointed in the direction of holy shit. So, Nina, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on any one of the things listed?
Well, you know, it's the Orban model. They're inching their way towards a constitutional crisis. We're probably already in it, and they have state media today. Media Matters published a report on how many times Fox News has had guests or anchors attacking these judges in the last, you know, since Trump got inaugurated, attacking the judges who are standing up against him. And, you know, there were reports in the papers about the, in the New York Times about the judges being threatened and fearing for their safety. So yeah, we're at that point. It's like any other country. I'm not a student of fascism like Ruth Ben Ghiat, but I mean, if you had paid half minutes of attention to what's going on, and like when there were like riots in Pakistan or something, it was always like the lawyers are, they're standing up against, the government, and they're the ones getting thrown in jail, and it's like the journalists and the lawyers, they're going to throw them in jail, and they jail them in, well, forget their lawyers in China, but they jail the journalists in all those countries, and the lawyers in, in South America, they go down in these, that's what they do. So I don't know if I don't know what Paul Weiss and these companies, there are other ones, he went after First Foy, I can't remember what it's called. It's the one that represents Democrats, and Mark Elias was affiliated with. Yes. They hate so much because Mark Elias went after
he named Mark Elias. He's like, keeps talking
and they're going after the lawyers. So yeah, first let's kill all the lawyers, right? Shakespeare said, but that's what they're trying to do. They're going after the lawyers, they're going after the judiciary. And as you mentioned, Roberts wakes up. So what's going to happen? Does Handmaid and Roberts now join the liberals when the next case gets up there? That's going to be the test. Okay, they're going to take all of this stuff is going to go up to them eventually, right? It's going to go to the Supremes. What's going to happen? It literally is going to come down to, as it did before when they gave him fucking immunity and made him a king. It's going to come down to these few people, one or two, well, two, it has to be two, who say, enough is enough. And then that is when you are going to see the real test. Are they going to break down and say, you know what? Fuck you, Supreme Court. We don't have to listen to you. Or does the Supreme Court go, yeah, it's okay if you use the War Powers Act to remove people who might be gang members, but who you have not proved are, it's okay.
Due process.
It's okay to throw due process out. Are they going to go down that road? Or are they going to? So we're still kind of waiting for it to get, I don't know, will it be at the height of summer? When are they going to bring these cases up to the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court, it takes forever to grant cert and all that stuff. And they usually come out with their cases their decisions in June, and then they go on vacation or something, and they're not there for a while. So all this stuff comes out in June. So are they getting the cases up to the Supreme Court? Maybe. I mean, what's his name? Judge Boasberg they're going to have to take that somewhere. And I think it will end up with him. With the Supremes, and then what happens? I guess that's when we're going to know. That's my.
He's going to not listen to them. Is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Probably not going to listen to them.
You need to print now.
And then they will have
prepare for that.
And then they will. Clarence Thomas and Alito will have what they wanted to have. They'll have the king and all of these Catholic Opus Dei fuckers who are aligned with them. Will have what they want, and Curtis Yarvin and all these people who want a monarchy or a dictator will have a dictator, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the greatest country, all of these our medical and scientific expertise trashed by this idiot that they put in charge of HHS, and everything is just in, it's under attack, and we know that. But I still hold out hope. I've said all this. I still hold out hope that the pendulum swings somehow, that people will come to their senses somewhere. Like if they stand up if they say to the Supreme Court, we're not going to do what you're telling us to do. Will the Republicans? Will there be enough people to say no? This is enough. I mean, maybe not. I don't know.
I guess we're going to find out. They're going to be the summer blockbuster.
I honestly do not have a crystal ball on this.
It's the summer blockbuster. LB, before we get to announcements, what do you have anything to add on all of this laundry list?
I mean, yeah, that was great, Nina. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think I'm in the camp of, I really do see two forces I see the zealots, the true believers, the folks that that Nina was just articulating. So this it yes, Opus Dei, Catholic, blah blah blah, but also in there are the Nazis who are the they want the fascistic creep, which is what the topic of this section is. And then there are the just the nihilists for money, and which are pushing for an oligarchy. And even when you go back to fascism happening, Mussolini, who was a gangster, it really was just about money for that guy. It wasn't that all of that ideology that he spawned and all the strong men and all that stuff was really in service to his greed and his there's always comes in there like a wanting women and wanting the men around him to give their women over, like, so there's a personality personality disorder. But it's business, right, for that guy. Business for that guy. And you have the zealots who they're just following in this track of, oh, we are transactional with one another and we're really benefiting one another. But I think it's always clear to see who's in which track, right?
That's a very good point.
The problem is
Wall Street might get sick of this.
Yeah. The problem is
that's where that is.
The tracks follow really well. They're really parallel. The train is on both those tracks and going pretty far, carrying all of us in the cargo load ready, taking us right to the camps, right? Which is what we're also. So where that might diverge, or one breaks down, or, oh no, wait a minute, I'm not sure. I'm with Nina. The fascistic creep, as soon as the folks that have the actual power, the real power, Donald and the people around him, they're money people. It's all about money. It's about the grift. It's about money, money, and praise and adulation, and filling the hole of the void of the fact that their mother rejected them when they came out of their mother's body. So the mom was like, forget it. And then they hate women, and then all of that. So that thing, if the fascists, the true believers, and the Nazis, if they're all of a sudden messing with the money in a way, then I think we get derailed. But otherwise, I don't know. I think
that's a really good point. Because almost all of his moves are to enrich himself.
Yeah.
And I think I always think like the tariffs, which we haven't been talking about so much this week, but are still out there. Mm-hmm. This whole thing with where he puts the foot to the gas on the tariffs, and then he pulls back, and he puts his foot to the gas on the tariffs, and he pulls back. And I think it's like foot to the gas, gets the phone call. What do you want, Donald? Okay, off the gas. Yeah. What do you want, Don? On the gas, the other country. Right? Canada. Well, maybe I'll have some of your minerals off the gas, and you're going to put it in my crypto account. And I honestly think that's what it is. It's just a gigantic shakedown street play. Yeah, pay to play.
Absolutely. It's a shakedown.
Gigantic shakedown, pay to play, which as you said, I'm not an expert. I didn't know that about that Mussolini stuff that you've just described. Yeah. But I don't know how that all plays out. I think you're right, though, that in a sense it can be the crack in this edifice. It's not going to be the crack in the cult.
No,
what we were talking about before.
A crack in the folks with the power. Exactly. As soon as the true believers fuck with the gangsters' money, it's over.
I think you're right.
And I just don't know that they will.
But I also think that they're aligned. They're aligned, and they know not to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? I don't know if they will. I don't know.
The gangster is getting the true believers what they want.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
God.
And you're not like hearing as much about Bannon being pissed off at Musk lately, which is where that is. Right. So I don't know. Did they come to a truce? Did they have a Did Daddy have them come into the office and say, stop fighting?
Barron got upset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barron got upset. Okay, this was good. Fascism creep. So Nina, do you have any announcements before we release you into your warmer Caribbean fun?
No, just like tune into New York Magazine next week. There's going to be a big story on Don Jr. and it will entertain, amuse, edify, and horrify. And what else? I don't know. I've got my second novel of the trilogy about done. I was hoping to use my time down here to finish literally half the last chapter of writing, and my chapters are short.
I really like your novel, as you know.
Thank you. Well, I have thank you. I always, I appreciate.
We love your writing, yeah.
But I really would, if I wish I could spend more time writing fiction because, damn,
I know.
We got to keep our eyes on it. Thank you, guys.
Well, you have to also enjoy yourself. So I hope you are also enjoying yourself down there.
I am. I love the salt water, and cheers.
Cheers, Nina.
Cheers. I'm on to my water. I finished my tequila, but I put
Yay.
Yay. Oh, Nina.
That was great. She's great, as always.
She's so great. All right. And there's a reason why we wanted to have our first guest back, because we actually have an announcement of a new first.
Okay.
Are you going to make it, or am I making it? Who's making it?
I don't know.
We have a big announcement.
We have a big announcement, or part of a big announcement.
Part of a big announcement. A tease. We have a tease of a big announcement.
We have a tease.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, April 16th, I think that's the Wednesday. Whatever the Wednesday is of that week. Pretty sure it's the 16th.
That's it. Yeah.
Day after mark your calendars, 8 p.m.
Mark it down.
There's going to be a show. That's it. It's going to be on our network here. And I don't know how much more we should reveal now.
We're taking over Wednesday nights. That's what's happening.
We're taking over Wednesday.
It might not be us.
It may not.
It might be us.
It may not.
We're taking over Wednesday nights. We're giving you more content. We're giving the people what they want.
Yeah. Giving the people what they want. Tariffs, no tariffs, we're going to keep doing this until the tariffs stop something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or we have had enough tequila to actually be like, okay, we don't care anymore. At least we have each other.
Yeah.
We keep saying we're going to get through things, and we are. I won't tease it all the way. I forgot the thing I was going to say. Okay. That's all we can tell you about it. Next week, we will tell you more.
We will, for sure.
And the week after that, I think we have like 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. We have a little ways. Yeah.
We have a little ways.
I mean, the Republic might fall by then, but I think we'll be okay.
There might be new music.
There might be. Definitely going to be new music. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Definitely going to be new music. Might be some fun animation.
What were you going to say? Were you going to say something?
But wait, I just want to say this. But absolutely, because I'm saying I love this community. I'll come when I can. Thank you so much. Go with the Flow Farm. I'm seeing that comment there. Yeah, that's the other reason to have a second night, 2 nights a week of the 5-8. Is we want to make sure we give you guys enough opportunities to come together, because we realize we're just the vehicle to allow you guys to come together, and you're having your whole own world here in the comments, and we love it. We love that you're there to support one another. So yay.
We're very excited about it, and it's going to be great.
We're very, very, very excited about it. Okay, so I forgot my thing I was going to say about John Roberts and Puxatawny the groundhog. When you brought that up, I wrote it down even, and then I forgot it. Right now, where I am, which, look, in town, in our little villages, in our little village communities of incredible athletes from all over the world, and farmers and activists and artists, and a lot of really good cooks. And I do my Pilates, and, we ice skating. I did learn how to do a pivot, by the way. I can pivot now. I don't think I've shown you the pivot.
I saw the
Greg
pivot.
and I are in person. I put on my socks on the wood floors.
Yeah.
And I do ice skating.
I thought you did the pivot, but maybe it was called.
Did I do the pivot? I really do the pivot now, though. Okay. It's really good. Okay. Oh, no, I know what I do. I do also what you haven't seen. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it does involve a very funny position. So I'll do that for you next time we're on the wood floors in our socks. But so inside our villages, where everybody's liberal and we're all like freaking out, and we make peace signs around Ukraine Day and everything, we're very careful with the wildlife.
Mhm.
Also, we're slower. You slow down. The speed limit comes down. There's all these dark country roads and highways, right, going up to Canada and around and blah, blah, blah. But in our village, in our lakes, in our villages, we're going pretty slow. And we know where the deer cross. We know the deer. And the deer and the wildlife are very, very smart. They stay, even the eagles, they stay pretty close into the villages because they're like, this is easy living, right? Nobody hunts really in the village. Like it's safe. Well, the groundhogs are out, and they're just so in all that, right? They're out, and we're going slow enough that we can see them crossing the street. I slowed down for at least 3 groundhogs this past week, so they could cross the road, and they go blah, 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 and cross the road. But again, early this morning, I'm driving to Vermont, so I gotta go through the country highways in the dark and it's just like carnage. It's, what did you call it? It's Severance in the elevator, right? It's like, it's just blood and guts and dead groundhogs everywhere. And like, so, I was just thinking, John Roberts, like he's going to be carnage in the MAGA land. And that's where it's more Republican. That's where it's like MAGA, the farmers and all that. So he'll be all over the roads like roadkill if he stands up to Donald Trump. Good luck to him. MAGA's going to take him out. I'm telling you.
I'm so sad about it.
I know.
Sad. We're gonna get we're gonna get Amy Coney Barrett as Chief Justice. Is what we're gonna get. That's what we're gonna get.
Oh God, I think he's going to go right to Eileen Cannon. He's making her. Who's he going to get to step down? Maybe he gets John Roberts to retire. I don't know. I would have thought it would have been Clarence Thomas first. Oh,
well, we'll see.
You and I need to do another.
Aileen Cannon still has to get confirmed. I would like to see an Aileen Cannon confirmation
hearing.
Yeah, let's re-Kavanaugh that shit.
Let's do that one. That'll be fun.
Look into her finances. How about that?
Let's look into that.
Mm-hmm. Why? I got questions. Okay, so we're not even going to put the timer on for this last one.
We're not? Okay.
No, because it's short. Because I knew that you're tired.
I'm tired.
And we want to end with kind of an upbeat thing.
I'm older.
So, there are, contrary to what you read about in the legacy media, there are a lot of things happening in the world in terms of protest, right? In the United States, there's protests all over the place, not just involving blowing up Tesla dealerships, and setting Teslas on fire.
Yeah.
Although that is good for roasting marshmallows, or so I've heard. Things are happening. People are doing things. There's events coming up. I was reading Malcolm Nance is doing something. I think tomorrow, up in Hudson, New York, here in the Hudson Valley. That's a pro-Ukraine thing. I think it's on April 5th on Saturday. There's a big, huge kind of get out in the street event that's happening.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact details, but that's a thing that's happening. People are doing things, and while the Democratic leadership sucks, there are people out there doing stuff. So, Bernie and AOC had a rally. They're having multiple.
The Arizona one? Mm-hmm. You're talking about?
I'm talking about the Arizona one. So I wanted to play a little piece of it.
I want to see that. I want to say one thing quick before you do that. So you and I were both sort of like intrigued by Bernie the first time. You might have even voted for him. I wasn't going to vote for the woman on the ticket. And then got very, very annoyed with him and, and all his old Soviet ways. But I'm publicly giving it to Bernie. Good for you, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
He's doing it. He is doing it. I feel like
he always does this. He's a scold.
I understand he always does this. I understand he's a scold, but he doesn't have to be like, all right, we're going out, we're going to the people, we're going to have rallies, we're going to talk, we're going to, and that is actually, it wasn't required before. You didn't have to do that against Hillary Clinton or against Obama. You didn't have to do that, Bernie, but you do have to do it against this guy and what's happening now. And I'm pleased that he has shown up for his shtick meets this moment. It does. It works in this moment. It's effective in this moment, and good things are going to come out of this.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, give it up for Bernie for
So I'm giving
rising to the moment.
Rose to the moment.
You know, misery, bedfellows. Okay, hopefully this will work.
Okay,
It
let's
worked
play
before. So okay, so this is her, and here we go.
Oh, this is amazing.
But to get there, we need to be honest about where we are. Because we are witnessing an oligarchy in America. And that is when those with the most economic, political, and technological power destroy the public good to enrich themselves while millions of Americans pay the price. And we are at a point where the wealthiest people in the world, like Elon Musk, and all the Republicans enabling him, are turning to loot what is left of Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security to bankroll even deeper tax cuts and sweetheart contracts for themselves, their fellow billionaires, and their corporations. And our political system right now is ill prepared for this abuse of power. In fact, our political system enables it, starting with the role of money in politics. But I am here to remind you that we are not powerless in this moment. People are starting to put the pieces together. And ironically, the most divisive forces in our country are actually starting to bring more of us together. And that is important because the billionaire and the elite class derives their power from dividing working people apart along lines of left or right, race and gender, creed and culture. They will throw every label and judgment and cultural debate at us in the book to keep us distracted and from realizing that the only division that is truly hurting our country the most is the endless greed by those at the very, very top at the cost of everyone else.
She's right.
She's right. There you go. AOC. That's it. That's all I got.
That's it. We've heard it all before, but in this moment, it's potent.
Yeah. And
accurate.
And I don't think we've heard it before in quite this way, and not from somebody like that. She hasn't done this sort of thing in this way before. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Run her, assuming we have
I don't. Who knows what's going to happen? But Greg Olear.
Mm-hmm.
But
what?
It gives me a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think
mm-hmm.
we're going to get through it.